And welcome back. Here we are again with another video. Thank you for listening and being a part of my community. We just had an amazing weekend. We just completed the NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3 Indoor Championships. In this video, we're going to recap Division 1 and what an exciting meet, even though at the end of the men's meet, there was some real frustration, just a major debacle, but I will not let it, disrupt what was a phenomenal meet. I mean, performance after performance, there was some eye-popping marks. There were some athletes that we hadn't even mentioned, and you'll hear me mention those who I had predicted to win throughout, and how I fared. Some of my predictions came through, a lot did not. So we'll have fun with that. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I look forward to engaging with you all upon hearing this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started right away. We do have our old format brought back, which is our four-leg format. First leg, second leg, third leg, and anchor. With the first leg, we'll look at the sprints and hurley events. Second leg, we'll look at our distance events. Third leg, we'll look at the jumps. And our anchor leg, we'll look at the throws and multi. So let's get started. Right away on the men's side, we're going to look at the men's 60-meter dash champion. We thought it would be between Auburn and USC, because that's really where it's kind of been all season. You had J.C. Stevenson of USC, and then Onion Sola of Auburn, amongst a cadre of great sprinters from Auburn. But it was not to be so. Don't say it is so. It was the football guy. Yes, Jordan Anthony of Arkansas found a way to pull it through. Hats off to Jordan. That is the first ever 60-meter dash champion for Arkansas. And that includes legendary greats like Tyson Gay. I remember when he was a senior in 2005, that was really kind of his best year to me for him to have won it. He ran his debut at the Tyson Invitational. I'll never forget this. I was a freshman at Eastern Michigan University. He ran 6.55, but he had a ugly fall within the 60-meter dash at the end, and we didn't see him for the rest of the indoor season, and it was just disappointing because to me, I think he would have been favored to clearly win that event. And he would have been their first champion, but it was Jordan Anthony who, this is his third stop. He's had to, be on the second place space or just missing it space, the past 2 years. He is a very talented sprinter. Ran a 20.6 indoors as a high schooler. I mean, this is someone with incredible speed. And everything kind of came together because in the 60-meter dash this weekend, you had three men go under 60 seconds. Young man from Auburn, and you had J.C. Stevenson run 6.46, I believe the second fastest time in NCAA history. And then you had Jordan Anthony run a 6.47. He came back and was the only one in the final to run a 6.49. And he did kind of, dip and lean early because he just knew he won it. He had such a strong start. He got out and they clearly weren't going to close on him. So hats off to Jordan Anthony. What an incredible time and great finish. The 200, it was the same guys. Makanakashi Charamba of Auburn versus Carly Mekarawu of Kentucky. I didn't include him in my preview video because I really thought it was going to be Makanakashi Charamba, and I thought, Jaden Reed of LSU. There were a host of other talented runners that I thought would be competing, and Makarawu, who, stepped into Kentucky as a transfer from junior college level. The transfer has worked very well for him. He's coached by Marvin Gibson, one of the great, LSU athletes, former LSU coach, former Clemson coach, now at Kentucky, and things just seem to have formed very well for them. 20.13. He ties Taramba's fastest time of the season, and he is now amongst the elite all time. 20.13, and Taramba wasn't too far behind, 20.16, and the lane assignments mattered to Taramba. I think had he been in lane 5, it would have worked to his, to better him because he, being that tall, just he looked so uncomfortable running out of lane 6, and his form really kind of, failed him a little bit, I felt, in the last 60 meters of the 200. And Carly McElroy looked really solid, both in the prelims and in the finals. Hats off to the coaching staff at Kentucky and to him for stepping up and making sure people don't forget who he is. Moving to the 400, um, I'm going to say this, and this is not to be offensive to the young man who won. I was a little disappointed with the 400. It didn't live up to what I thought would be a 44-second performance. There's a lot of hype going in, and the time didn't really hit for me. And it just seemed that in this event of all the men's events, this one was noticeably off, including the 4x4, which is ironic. But this event just seemed to be off. Will Floyd of Georgia, who we did not mention here, found a way to win it 45-44. This is now the third year in a row Georgia has won the 400 indoor title. What's Coach Gilbert doing down there? Coach Carroll, what are you doing down there at Georgia to have all this success in the 400? And the second Canadian athlete in back-to-back years to win this event. Watch out for Canada's 4x4 in years to come. This was a really gutsy performance by him because he had Nathaniel Ezekiel really on his heel. And at one point, I thought Nathaniel was going to, win it. But no, Will Floyd just refused to be beaten, winning at that time a 45-4. Third in a row for Georgia. Let's see what happens outdoor, because I think outdoor, without that break, without having to be tactical, you can't really outsmart anyone outdoors. Some guys are really not great indoor 400-meter runners due to that break where they have to cut in. Running that one lap, staying in your lane, and having to just gut it out really brings out the best in some, and so we'll see what happens outdoors. Moving to the 60 hurdles, this was another event that I guessed wrong. So if you're keeping score, I got all the men's sprints wrong. Jacoby Tharp of Auburn, and I really felt like should have leaned on him because I did at the preseason, even though I did mention Malachi Snow. I think the mistake he made was doing both the 60 hurdles and the 60. I felt like if he just stayed with the hurdles, he would have had a better chance because Tharp, who was the only of the big three hurdlers, him, Johnny Brackens, and Malachi Snow, who didn't do a double. He was solely focused on the hurdles, and it looked that way. His technique was solid. He had a great start, and he showed that championship grit that he showed last year as a freshman. He is clearly a budding star, and I think we need to recognize him for that. And 7:45 is no slouch time, specifically for a sophomore in college. Very Grant Holloway-esque. So we need to get more comfortable with the name Jacoby Tharp because he's not going nowhere. And the last event in the men's section of the sprints and hurdles, and yes, I got this wrong too. And, again, it was really sad that the finals in the 4x4 were messed up by the officials. It wasn't really just athletes. Granted, there was interference, but the officials were also in the way. And it held up what was going to happen with the national, title for the team. If I'm Arkansas, even though, because I did pick them or USC to win it, but I do believe I said Arkansas, they have a legit right to be upset. Because, to be fair, the national title probably could have been theirs. And it was really snatched out of their hands by some unfairness, not just by, a certain team, but also by the officials. They are, one of the rare times where the race ended and I said, run it again. Give everybody an hour rest, maybe 2 hours, but come back and run it again. I mean, we waited almost that long to find out who the champion was, and so that really sucked. And that's going to be interesting because, this is going to be a topic to discuss all outdoor season, unfortunately. The officials are going to hear it, but if I'm, the NCAA and I review this, I honestly think they should suspend the officials. That was really not fair what took place. That was a major blunder. That is a really true, solid black eye on the NCAA officiating. Because how dare you make a mistake like that? That causes this issue. In the end, though, it was the second to last heat that produced a champion, and it was Georgia, 303-4. Hats off to Georgia. I think that's their first 4x4 national title ever. So again, things going well for Coach Carol Smith Gilbert down in Georgia. She has a young crew. Just continue to develop those guys, and she's already got a national title now. So now it's just about proving it outdoors. Now moving to the women's side, we had really, really eye-popping marks, and in the women's side, we did not see Brianna Liston compete in the finals. She was second in the semifinals in her heat and didn't show up in the finals. And Tima God bless false started in the semifinals also. So, dang, that was a rough meet for LSU. Rough indoor season for the Lady Tigers and a rough indoor season for the Florida Gator men. But Deja DeFrance of USC, hats off to the coaching staff there. 709 in the 60s. She ties Twanisha Terry and the legendary Angela Williams. If that's not to put you in good company, I don't know what else is. The transfer for her just has worked out in her favor beautifully. She looks a lot more confident, a lot more fluid. This picture of her is not very flattering because she does look a little tight. I do think she needs to just relax, get that arm action a little more up and down and more fluid, but it didn't really matter because 709 was the winning time and she got out and didn't let anyone catch her. And, shout out to her and the USC Trojan team, which had an incredible performance from their sprinters this weekend. In the 200, I felt that it was a little bit of an upset. I also was wrong here. I picked Jamisha Ford of South Carolina, and although she ran a 22.5, she did not run her personal best. I think her, again, running out of lane six, it just did not seem to be the better lane this weekend for those favorites in their events in the 200. It was lane five, the freshman, India Mayberry, 22.30, the number one time in the country this year. Tyrone Edgar, the coach of the TCU women's sprints, hats off to him because, man, she's just a freshman, but she does not run like it. She runs so veteran, and nothing seemed to be too big for her this year. No matter what meet it was, she just seemed to be ready, really, ready and patient and poised. I was a little disappointed in her 60 because I thought she had a legit shot at winning it, but no one was beating DeFran with that great block start. But she made up for it in the 200. The fact that she ran a faster time than Jamisha Ford did last year should put Jamisha Ford on notice. I don't think she had the meet that she wanted, but I expect for her to have a rebound this outdoor season. And then we have the 60 hurdles and Jaya Covington, who, I've mentioned on this channel a couple times. She's just she was stuck at 801 for majority of the indoor season. I'm like, is she going to get under 8? And she did. She waited to the most important time to do it, 794 to win the 60-meter hurdles for Texas A&M. Huge 10 team points. Although they were not really, fully in it, they still performed very well as a team, at least I thought, what they took. They had some mishaps, unfortunately, but, Pat Henry is, no slouch in developing championship athletes. And she's just another one to add to his enormous trophy case. Surprises in the race was Mariana Beebe of Tennessee not even making the finals. Asia Lawrenson of the University of Michigan. She had poor block starts in both the semis and the finals, and I was screaming like, no, get out, get out. She still is an All-American. She did perform well. And just disappointing with what took place with BB. Because I really thought she would give it a chase. And then Onika Wilson wasn't able to close on Jaya Covington, who just, if you look at the videos online, you see, she just got out and was focused. She didn't seem to look or take her eyes off of her race. Even at the beginning, I said, oh, she's very focused. That's bad for everybody else in that race. And she lived up to it. Hats off to Jaya Covington and the coaching staff at Texas A&M for getting that 60 hurdles champion. Perhaps they can get some more of those hurdlers at Texas A&M and get back to the way they were in the early 2010s when they had those great sprint squads and they were dominating the pin relays. And then the final sprint event is the women's 4x4. And it just seemed to be flipped. uh, Arkansas and Georgia. So I'm clearly missing an event. Let me back up. You had Arkansas win, Isabella Whitaker win the 400, which was a shock to nobody. I did predict Aaliyah Butler, but that's because Aaliyah Butler beat Whitaker one-on-one. Whitaker came back at this meet, and they weren't even in the same final seat, which was a mistake on the. I really do feel this was a mistake on the officials. Those two should have been in the same heat because both of them blew their heats away. They won by well over a second, and they were both in the 49-second range, but Isabella Whitaker just went all out. 49:24, the second fastest time in world history, and new NCAA and American indoor record. 49:24. That is insane. Arkansas is really just the king of developing women's 400 runners, and I think we need to just acknowledge that. Because DAMN, damn, just a great meet for them. Just a great meet in that event. And then they followed that up. They come back in the 4x4 and run 3:25:20. And I thought they had taken a step back. I really did. I was like, they don't have the depth that they had last year. Lies, they did. And with, Isabella not even running, her split didn't even match what she did in her individual race. And she's one of those that can drop a major split, like run a 49.2 and drop a 48.2. She's got that type of talent. She just comfortably ran 49.7. So I was like, this team really had a 3:24 indoors. They've really pushed. We'll see what they do outdoors. Because what a great performance that she had this weekend. She, to me, was probably the meet MVP. 2 big championship wins for her. And that's our first leg. Great run, great races. Really pleased with what I saw. None of my predictions came true. So I will take that. I was over 10 in the sprints and hurdles. Now, moving back to the men's side, leg 2 of the distance. We have really great performances in the 800 all indoor season, but I felt that this race, it didn't really kind of live up to the hype. We didn't even have a 145 runner. The winner was a 146 runner. However, he was tactically smarter than everybody this past weekend, and that goes to Mr. Erickson of Oregon. Just showing up and showing out and putting up great performances, both in the semifinals and in the finals. A huge 10 points for Oregon. I was a little surprised that he was the winner because of all the contenders in the 800. He was the one where I was just like, well, Matthew Erickson, he's an Oregon guy, but he wasn't the Oregon guy we were all focused on. I was really focused on seeing what Tanada Matsatsa would do and Aiden McCarthy of Cal Poly. Yes, Mississippi State had Abdul Ali Hassan, and this is, I believe, was his third stop, and it looks to be probably his best stop. But I really thought Tanada Matsatsa would run away with it, and he just did not have the kick in the last 100 meters. It was really Matthew Erickson who timed it perfectly. I mean, you could not have written a better script for how to finish your 800 than what you saw out of him. Look at that race online, and you will see him. It's just like he knew, okay, right here, right now. And I believe it was at the 100 mark. He said, "Let me go," and he went. And I felt that Tanada was trying to go with him, because Tanada was actually in front. And I felt that once he saw him go past, he tried to pick up that leg speed. He just didn't have it. And it was evident. I said, "Oh, you're going to lose now?" And he just didn't have it. Erickson of Oregon, a huge win. 10 team points for the Oregon Ducks. They did have a pretty good weekend on the men's side, specifically on the women's side, as we know. But we have a champion from Oregon in a distance event. No shocker there. Then you move up to the men's mile. Things were interesting. I did pick Nathan Green, and he didn't disappoint. He did finish second. But a Georgetown athlete that we didn't even mention, Abel Tefra, ends up winning 3:53.6. And he really just sort of hawked Nathan Green down. Nathan Green looked pretty solid at the 100 mark. I said, get those legs up. I think you're going to get it. And then here comes Abel Tefra, just walks him down in the last few meters of the race and just surpasses him. And there's that. And it just like that. And I just thought, this meet is really not going the way I thought it would go. But every race has been exciting. Hats off to Abel Teffer. He really got things started off Saturday morning or really afternoon with just that gutsy performance. And, Georgetown, I think we can now fully acknowledge, really, on the men's side with their distance athlete, they are among the elite. For them to have the type of weekend that they had in the 800 and in the mile, they're a phenomenal middle distance program. Are they a Washington? We're going to have to say yes because guess what? They got the title on one of those events and they beat the Washington guy. There you go. Moving up to a very exciting event, the 3K. And the reason why this was exciting because we're going to talk about the DMR in a minute. The way the DMR ended, you thought it was going to be Gary Martin of Virginia. You just did. I thought, I picked Ethan Strand to win the 3K, and I might be wrong here. Of all the events to get right, this is the one I get right. Ethan Strand found a way to pull it out. That last lap was very Parker Wolf-esque. He has an iron lung. He just kept running like he was a 400 runner. 7:52:03 to outduel Gary Martin at the end. That was really sort of vindication for him. Big win. That was a big statement for North Carolina, which has said we're here. We are among the elite distance programs. And I felt this weekend the ACC really kind of pumped their chest out and said, we are the best conference. And they certainly looked it. The 5K, which happened, on the first night, I should have probably mentioned him, but he just did not really stand out this season. And that's Brian Musa, who broke the meet record, 13:11:34 to outduel Hampton Samuel. They're both sophomores. We're going to be hearing about their names for a long time, whether you're following college track and field or pro. They're going to be there. Hampton didn't disappoint, really. He was second, 13:11:78. But Musa, just that last lap, he was too much, I think, for Hampton Samuel to keep up with and found a way to get, an important, I say, national title for Oklahoma State, which to me as a collective took a step back to where they were last year. They are a preeminent distance power, and this year it almost felt like they were taking a step back. He solidified that they are still a distance power and that he's a talent that you need to make sure you mention when doing previews. Now, bringing things back to the DMR, Virginia wins it 9-15-12 over North Carolina, 9-17-17, and Washington was really nowhere to be seen. 9-31-11. I don't know what happened there. I really do have questions for the coaches because why? What happened? Were there injuries that we were not privy to? I really have a lot of question marks because they just seem to be out of it. Kind of like the Arkansas distance squad was also really out of it this weekend. But Gary Martin closed on Ethan Strand in the final lap, who was comfortably ahead. North Carolina looked like they were en route to their first DMR national title, and here comes Gary Martin running an incredible anchor leg to just outgun Ethan Strand. He ran a much smarter anchor leg, and he timed it perfectly. And I thought, oh, well, there's that. He's going to get him in the 3K because, Virginia's always kind of been watching and waiting to kind of climb in the ACC. They're mentioned, but they haven't been the guy, and they were the guy in the DMR. But, things switched in that 3K, and Ethan Strand was able to get his lick back. Now, on the women's side, there were some, specifically in the 800, there were some shocks, but it happened before the finals. As you probably have heard, Juliet Whitaker, the defending champion and the NCAA leader, did not qualify to the finals. I was devastated and shocked because I secretly was hoping that she run 158 and give the NCAA record a run for its money. And I know I did not mention it in my preview, but I just kind of hoping, really, enjoy watching Juliet. She is a great 800 runner. She just didn't seem to have it. I don't know what was going on. Her teammate Royson was noticeably more prepared. But then it looked, as comfortable as Michaela Rose looked, I thought, okay, well, maybe that's who's going to be. And there was a lot of early pushing and shoving, almost some stumbling. And I felt like had that not happened, we probably would have got a faster time, but it didn't matter. Michaela Page of North Carolina, we didn't mention her. And this is, honestly the first time I've mentioned a great 800-meter runner, whether it's been my blog or YouTube channel, since Alice Schmidt of North Carolina, long time ago. But Michaela Page, hats off to her, 2 minutes 39. That was a personal best, and it's a facility record at that really nice facility in Virginia. And a big statement for North Carolina, who is getting back to being a producer of champions within the distance side. So hats off to her. And Michaela Rose finishes fourth, and Royson Willis finishes third. So it was a bit of a scramble there in the 800. And then, we'll see what happens outdoors. But we can't say anything, funny happened. Julia didn't run her best race. And hopefully things come back together outdoors for her. In the women's mile, another surprise here. I did go in with Cillian Ayadiz of Oregon winning it. She is the NCAA record holder, but it was her teammate Wilma Nielsen who held the record who was chasing the record also. 4:32:40. She ran a much smarter race, and was a part of a big performance from Oregon in this event. First and fourth, that was 15 team points for the Oregon Ducks in one event. Huge, when you're chasing a team title. But hats off to Nielsen. She's another athlete that transferred, and I think we need to come off all the negativity when kids transfer. Sometimes it's not an indictment of the actual program. It may be the atmosphere, the school, fellow students, or how they feel. Are they too far from home? Or is the environment not suited for their development? And she's another example of an athlete transferring and it working out for their favor. Moving up to the 3K, we had, really great 3,000-meter race. I thought Doris Lemon was going to win it here. I did predict her to win this event. But a name that I've mentioned here, but not in a long time, Celie McCabe of West Virginia. She has been in the thick of things for the past 2 or 3 years. She's always a name mentioned because she's a top performer. Finally got her own NCAA title. 9:01:18, a facility record. Hats off to her. She outdueled Lemon on the last lap and just was able to hold on and secure a national title for West Virginia in the individual sense. Then 5K, which was, I want to say, uneventful, but it just looked like Doris's event from the get-go. She looked so comfortable. Doris Lemon, I didn't pick her. I picked Hilda, and Hilda did not finish well. She was all the way in seventh. Uh, just not a great indoor season for Florida. I'm almost certain that there will be a meeting with Coach Holloway, his coaching staff, and with his athletes. I'm fully aware that they had, because I follow Florida. I make no secret that I really love their program. They had a lot of injuries, but they also had some athletes had some major mental mishaps. I don't know what happened with Hilda. It just didn't. She didn't seem to have her A game. But Doris Lemon had her A game. 15:05:93. She made sure she left the weekend with at least one national title. She alone was 18 points for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Huge for them. Lexi Holiday Lowry, 15:06:17 for the BYU. She was a name that we mentioned that was going to be in it, and she was in it, but she just wasn't able to beat Doris. And then the DMR, this is where BYU really kind of flexed their muscle because they were battling Oregon, who really brought a strong DMR squad. Oregon was second, BYU was first, 10:45:34. Not only was it a facility record, it's an NCAA meet record to go along with that NCAA record that they broke early this season. And I said it was going to take a sub 1050 performance, and it did. You had 4 teams under 1050, including LSU. Who would have thought that the distance runners did better? You had Providence 10:46:28 and LSU 10:47:17. Those were your 4 teams under 1050. Hats off to BYU and the coaching staff there. They just churning out great distance runners in large numbers. And this is an event that almost just feels like an entitlement to them because they always send such a strong team. Oregon too, but they were outdueled this past weekend by BYU. And that is our second leg. Great races all around. I did pick BYU to win, so if we're keeping score, I got two of the women's distance runners correct and one of the men. So I got three right on the distance side. In our third leg, we're looking at the jumps, and I'm a little bit more vindicated here because I got quite a few right. And we'll get started on the men's side again. We'll look at the men's high jump, and man, was I happy to see this win. So I was like, oh, I was keeping track, like, oh, I'm gonna have to eat it on my podcast. Tyus Wilson of Nebraska found a way to win at 7 feet 5, 3 1/4 inches, or 2.28 meters. He looked solid. I mean, he comfortably won because the closest to him was Ryan Rankin of Georgia, 7 feet 2 1/4. So this wasn't a great, to me, high jump field. Uh, I felt that this was a much better field for the triple jump and pole vault when it comes to jumping events, but when it regards to the high jump, it was really just Tyus Wilson by himself. Unfortunately, Arkansas's freshman Scotty Vines was only able to get over 6'11". It felt like the moment was perhaps too big for him. It's hard to put that amount of pressure on a freshman, but Arkansas's team title hopes, they had some really disappointing misses. I still feel that they were the strongest team that went, but they had so many things not go their way. And that can happen to anybody, and it can happen at a championship meet. Sometimes it's not an indication of the talent, it's the mindset. And it just felt like at moments it was too big for some of the guys on the team. But Tyus Wilson matched his personal best, and that was the facility record. Hats off to him. Nebraska continues to be one of the best technical developers of field event talent in all the NCAA. They continue to do that. Then you move on to the pole vault, and I was actually really relieved, and not for the winner. We're going to get to him in a minute, but Hunter Garrettson was able to score. I was really happy to see that. Go Matt guy, go from an Eastern Michigan guy to an Akron guy. I'm really happy for you. He got third, but the winner was Seaman Gudderson, one of the good Gudderson pole vaulters. He is now at Duke, and Duke, having transferred to Duke, has really worked out in his favor. 18 feet, 8 3 1/4 inches, 5.71 meters. It was a personal best and a facility record. A huge moment for Duke as they continue to develop great pole vaulters, and a huge moment for him. He went in as the favorite and came out with the title. Hats off. So as you're seeing right now, I'm 2 for 2 with the men's jumps. Then you move over to the men's long jump, and this is where I took it down. J.C. Stevenson and Johnny Brackets, neither one of them had a great meet, and the jumps event wasn't, to me, great at all. There were only two athletes over 26 feet, and I actually thought there would be about 4 or 5, and that did not happen. In fact, 8th place was 24 feet. So not the type of performances you were expecting for Division I jumpers, but maybe that's because this was a runway that it just didn't seem that some of the athletes were quite comfortable with the runway, but some were. And Kelsey Daniel of Texas, he was. Now, I didn't mention him as a contender, so I'm happy to say that. But this is another positive mark for coaching staff at Texas to say, you know what, we are capable of developing very, very good long jumpers. And Edric Florial, again, a great jumper in his own right, an Olympian for Canada, an NCAA champion while at Arkansas. Here he is continuing to develop great long jumpers on the men's side. Kelsey Daniel was 26 feet, 9 1/4 inches, 8.16 meters, a personal best and a facility record. Then on the men's side in the triple jump, on the last jumping event for the men, Jonathan Ceremis of Missouri, who I did pick, did end up winning. He won comfortably, 55 feet, 11 inches, a personal best, almost hit 56 feet. In fact, I thought he was going to hit it. He'll probably not only hit 56 outdoor, I'm going to call it here now and say I think he's going to hit 57. I know. It's a little early. But the way he looked in that triple jump in that runway, I said, I'm curious to see what he looks like outdoors. Brandon Green did find a way to be among the top three. He did not have his best jump, but he still finished third at 54, 1, 3 1/4. McKaylen Moore, a Nebraska guy, finished second, 54, 2 1/2, with a personal best. Again, Nebraska, one of those great programs of developing field athletes. Strong performance there. It's funny because 1, 2, and 3 is the old Big 12. And two of those schools are now at the SEC and one is in the Big Ten. Go figure. But hats off to Jonathan Ceremis, 55 feet 11 inches, a huge moment for the Missouri Tigers in their jumps. So I'm 3 for 4 on the men's side. Now, how did I do on the women's side? Surprise, surprise, the women's high jump, it was a tie. I know, yuck. I did go in with Rachel Glenn as my favorite. She finished third, 6 feet 3 1/4, so she did not meet her NCAA record or even match the time she jumped at SEC. I don't know what happened there. But you had Alina Kulichenko, who seems to show up at every NCAA championship. She's really getting to be the new Lamar Distant. I'm just going to show up with a national championship and win it. How about that? Alina Kulichenko of Georgia. But she does have to share it with Timmy Tope Adeshina of Texas Tech. The last time I mentioned her on this channel was in the preview of the season. She had that incredible performance last year as a freshman, at the beginning of her freshman career. And here she is, things kind of coming together. That was her season best mark, 6 feet 4 1/4 inches that they both jumped. And they will share the NCAA title. Outdoors, things will be a little different. But I think this is a really hot event because we got three amazing high jumpers: Rachel Glenn, Timmy Tope Adeshina, and Alina Kulichenko. And now moving to the pole vault, and it went as expected. I did predict Amanda Mole would win it, and Amanda Mole did win it. Um, Her and her sister had the same mark, 15.5, but she beat her on, the amount of clearances. That was a meet record and a facility record. There were only two athletes over 15 feet, and that was Amanda Mole and Hannah Mole. The 18 points for make them a really strong Washington team, even though they didn't have the best weekend in the running events. That was a pretty big noticeable performance by Amanda. Her sister with the national title last year, and she's the runner-up this year. They have a great 1-2 punch there at Washington. 18 points that really can help towards building a national title. And so I'm one for two. Moving to the women's long jump. This was really an interesting event. I was pretty confident that it would be Takoria Humphrey. What I was not expecting, though, on the women's side, for there to be four 22-foot jumpers. Man, yes, you heard me correct. Four. Anthea Charlton, Alyssa Jones, Takoria Humphrey, and Alexis Brown. And that was fourth through first. Charlton did finally get back over 22 feet and 1/4 inches, matching Alyssa Jones of Stanford. Takoria Humphrey was 22-1 and 3 1/4 inches. Not her personal best, but we thought that would be enough to win a title. But Alexis Brown, formerly of Florida, now at Baylor. Again, the transfer is not always an indictment on the program. It may just simply be that's not the best environment for that athlete. Baylor has worked wonders for her. She has improved as a 100-meter and a 60-meter sprinter as well as a long jumper. Her performance this weekend was great. She had a great jump of 22 feet, 7, 3 1/4 inches. She also had a great series. She looked solid in almost every jump. I think she's going to have a really strong outdoor season. And to me, I think she might actually bring it even stronger outdoor. I still am not going to ignore Anthea Charlton. I'm hoping that she has a stronger outdoor season than indoor because she still has a top mark in the country at 22.11. So she's got 23 feet in her bones. We'll see. But Alexis Brown of Baylor, well done by you. That was an excellent jump. The triple jump on the women's side actually did not go as planned. The athletes that I predicted, I did not perform well. Winnie B finished fourth, and Amelia Shostrand finished ninth. She's not even first team All-American. She's second team. Didn't even get over 44 feet. I don't know what happened. But it was Agor Dwal of Oklahoma. Jumping is happening there at Oklahoma. That coaching staff knows what they're doing. 45 feet and 1/4 inches, 13.72 meters. The only top athlete that I had predicted was Timmy Tope Ajora, and she finished where I thought she would, third. 44.11 and a half, a big 6 points for USC, as they finished third overall for the team title. But Agrawal, a name that we did not mention, is a name we're going to have to mention come during the outdoor season preview. Hats off to her for pulling out the major win. And so on the women's side, I went 1 for 4. Much better success on the jumps on the men's side. Now here we go to the throws, and there were some stories that happened here. We'll get started right away with the shot put. A guy that I predicted to win did end up winning, Tariq Robinson O'Hagan. Nobody's shocked. He's been dominant all season from Ole Miss, being coached by Connie Smith. It's almost just sort of a natural inclination to just lean on the Ole Miss athlete in the field when it comes to a throwing event, because they seem to always show up. 67 feet, 3.25 inches, 20.49 meters, outstanding throw for him. Not his personal best, but enough to win it, even with Christopher Licata, who I did mention in the preview. I said he's not, having the best indoor season, but he'll show up when it's the championship, and he did show up, finishing second. Dylan Taggart also finished fourth, so South Carolina, in just the shot put alone, picked up 12 points. Then the weight throw, which is where things got interesting. So right now, if you're looking in the throws event, I got one, and I'm going to miss one here. Daniel Reynolds, who I really should have went with. I did mention him when he was number one. I'm like, I still think it's going to be Kenneth Akiji. He did not have a great meet. He finished sixth. But Daniel Reynolds of Wyoming, 82 feet, 3.5 inches, 25.08 meters, found a way to win it over Trey Knight of Cal State Northridge, who finished second, 80 feet, 4.25 inches, 24.49 meters. Hats off to Daniel Reynolds, living up to the expectation he set after he claimed the number one ranking. Should have given him a little bit more favor, but he made sure to make sure I know that he is a talented weight thrower and now an NCAA champion. And the last event on the men's side is the multi-event, and it was the men's heptathlon. It's the heptathlon indoors and the decathlon outdoors for the men. And I got this right. I did pick Peyton Beer to win it, and he didn't disappoint. He was the only athlete over 6,000 feet, 6,000 points, 6,013 points. He finished first in the 60-meter dash, 11th in the long jump, 4th in the shot, 3rd in the high jump, 4th in the hurdles, 7th in the pole vault, and 4th in the 1,000. He was a top athlete in so many events. Although he only claimed the title for one, he did scored enough and was high enough that he was able to score over 6,000 points. If there's one area that I think he really, really needs to work on improving, it's that long jump mark. 22 feet, 8.5 inches, that's not going to cut as a decathlete. It's going to have to really improve that area, but I'm sure he will. Nice job for the Mississippi State staff. You'll see him pictured there with Carjay Lyles, one of the great long jumpers from Tennessee, a great coach. I know he'll get Peyton together in that event. And happy to say, so in the anchor leg portion, I went 2 for 4. So I was able to, 2 of 3. So I was able to get quite a bit there. On the women's side, in the shot put, I was like, I should have included her. And I mentioned her, and I should have included her. It was one of my contenders, and I just didn't. Unfortunately, Maya Lesnar, defending champion, wasn't even in the top 3. She finished 4th. It was Lena Johansson of Nebraska. Yes, another Nebraska athlete in the field events. 63 feet, 3.25 inches, a facility record. That's not even a personal best for her. That's how good she is. She was able to outduel Jada Ross, 62, 3.25. And then Kayla Dove, who led the nation majority of the season, finished third at 62.5. But 63 feet, 3.25 inches, 19.28 meters, the only 19-meter thrower, Lena Johansson of Nebraska. Congratulations. I owe you an apology because I really should have included you. I should have, and against my better judgment, I did not. In the women's weight throw, also got this wrong. Ooh, dang, I'm taking L's. I did pick Giovanna Meeks, and she finished 4th, similar to the favorite in the shot put. It was a name that I had not thought of. Taylor Kessner of Wisconsin. 77 feet, 1.25 inches, 23.50 meters, She claimed the title. Gudrun Helgrimsdottir of VCU, we mentioned her in the preview, but haven't mentioned her since. She found a way to squeak in second, 76 feet, 1 inches, 23.19 meters. So the top three were names that I had not even mentioned as contenders. And the three that I had mentioned finished fourth, which was Giovanna Meeks. Shelby Frank finished fifth of Texas Tech. And Infinite Naboy didn't even make it to the finals. That was the shock going in. I was like, wait, what? Oh, my eyes were just blown away. I could not believe it. Taylor Kessner, way to win, represent the Big Ten. And then the last event we'll talk about on the women's side and on the video today is the women's pentathlon. It's pentathlon indoors, heptathlon outdoors, and I picked this woman to win, and I'm happy that I stuck with my choice because I know that Pippi Lotta Enoch did very well at the SEC meeting. She looked solid, but it was not enough for her to beat Jaden O'Brien to win her third indoor title in a row, 4,596 points. Peyton Bear, she won one event. It was the 60 hurdles, but she was ninth in the high jump, second in the shot put, second in the long jump, and second in the 800. What a weekend! I mean, she's literally top two for 4 of the 5 events. So hats off to her. Hats off to Notre Dame, really putting out really great multi-event athletes. She is probably the best that they've ever had. I don't think they've ever had an athlete win 3 national titles in a row. We'll see what happens outdoors. I think things will be really interesting outdoors. But she should feel very comfortable and that she's in great position. She's going to have 2 or 3 events that she's really strong at to really lean on in the heptathlon. And then the final thing we'll share is talking about the team title battle. On the men's side, obviously there was that interruption and it found a way to get the title to USC, which had a great team because things didn't even go their way, let alone Arkansas. Things did not go USC's way at all. They were predicted to win 3 events and didn't win any individual events. They just had a collection of points in the 60, the 200, the 400, the 4x4, the hurdles, and the long jump. That was enough for them to gather up enough points to win the national title. They only took 39 points, but they found a way to win it. Hats off to Coach Watts and his staff. That is a heck of a staff. They are all great at what they do. And once the 800 and the milers get things going under Coach Mallard, just, look for them to be at another level. I think things are looking very bright for USC. Again, they made some changes within their coaching staff this offseason. And I hope Coach Watts feels, vindicated and encouraged because you made changes. And even when things did not go your way, in pretty much every event, you still found a way to win a national title. That should tell everyone how strong of a team this USC group is because they did not have Max Thomas. They did not have Justin Braun. There was a number of sprinters who weren't even there. Outdoor season comes, you better believe USC is going to bring it. I think it's going to be a great outdoor season for this team. I think they are an easy favorite for the number one ranking. On the women's side, surprise, surprise, it was the Oregon Ducks. They showed up in every event that they could, performed very admirably. They had quite a few number of runner-up performances. You had Jaden Mays, second in the 60s, second in the 200, second in the DMR. But then they did win the mile and just have a bevy of points there. 55 points is what it took. So it took a real hammer of a team. And Arkansas didn't have what they had last year to be able to match that. I think this team will probably be even stronger outdoor. So I think it's fair to say Oregon will begin the outdoor season with the number 1 ranking. They won the meet by a comfortable 16 points. Georgia was second with 39. And Georgia finished second also on the men's side with 33. So this outdoor season, we're in for some fireworks. The team title battle is going to be different outdoors. I know I said what I just said. USC and Oregon will go in favorites. That's because of what they have on their rosters. But we can't ignore where the rest of the country will be. So we'll let them be number 1. I'm not going to predict who's going to be number 2 or anything like that. We'll let them be number 1 in the preseason rankings. I think Florida men are going to have a conversation internally. I think Arkansas is going to have a discussion on the men's side as well as the women's side about what happened at this meet. I think Texas A&M is going to have some conversations with their team and their staff. What happened? Because on the men's side, some things fell apart. They were DQ'd in the 4x4. I had them winning. So, and things did not go their way. The officials kind of ruined what could have been a great race. Hopefully, we'll be vindicated this outdoor season. A lot of great meets this year. The Florida relays and the Texas relays, this is one of those rare years where they're not in the same weekend. They're separate, and I'm so elated. I wish I could afford to go to both because I would love to go to both and the pin relays, but you got to be money smart. I look forward to this outdoor season because we just had a phenomenal indoor season. We had several national records broken. We even had some athletes that we haven't seen yet that are gearing up. Where's Micah Williams in this USC discussion? You forgot about him, didn't you? That's again why they are number one. Surely the USC team, it's going to be hard to make that 4x1. It's going to be hard to make that 4x2. If they have one, it's going to be hard to make that 4x4. It's going to be a real interesting outdoor season. The discussions that we have about team depth and performance. And unlike the indoor season where you have to get a time to qualify, there's regionals in the outdoor. So that can also make things even more interesting. So again, thank you always for listening. Please comment. I do, as you can see, I reply and will engage. Please share this on your timelines and in your social media. Please subscribe and like, and I will see you guys in the next video.